Welcome back to The Explainer. So, previously we talked about this huge breakthrough, giving AI a constitution, basically a readable rulebook of human values. Well, today, we're taking that concept an incredible step further. Think about an AI like a brilliant but, highly dependent student. For the longest time, this student needed a human tutor holding its hand for every single task, meticulously correcting every little mistake. But what happens when that student actually graduates and starts using a grading rubric to check its own work? That brings us to a really fascinating mystery that top researchers are trying to crack right now. Can an AI improve its own answers without a human there to correct every single mistake? This is a massive shift in how we even think about machine learning. We're looking at a transition from absolute sheer dependence on constant human correction over to guided self-improvement. And let me tell you, the stakes here are absolutely massive for the future of artificial intelligence. Okay, let's dive into this. The old way of aligning AI, which you might know as RLHF, relied heavily on human tutors manually checking and ranking responses. And hey, it was incredibly effective. But it created this massive bottleneck, something researchers call the alignment tax. It's just slow, and it's completely tedious. The new way, constitutional AI, is like handing that student a grading rubric. The AI actually reviews its own drafts against this rubric before turning in the final assignment. And the result of that shift? It is staggering. We are talking about 100 times cost reduction. You see, human feedback is incredibly expensive. Imagine having to pay human experts $1 or more for every single piece of feedback just to train one massive model. That adds up so fast. But when the AI provides the feedback itself using its constitution, that cost drops to less than a single penny per instance. It practically demolishes the cost barrier. It makes high-quality alignment accessible without needing literal armies of human labelers.
So what exactly is this new method? Well, constitutional AI, or CAI, is a methodology where an AI model critiques and revises its own outputs against a predefined set of human interpretable principles. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. Humans are still writing the curriculum. We are the ones defining the principles, things like be helpful or be accurate. But once we do that, we hand the curriculum over to the AI to perform the actual review process itself.
And this brilliantly illustrates what the self-critique loop looks like in action. It's exactly like an author relentlessly editing multiple rough drafts before finally publishing a book. First, the AI generates an initial answer. Second, it critiques that draft against its constitution to see exactly where it fell short. Third, it revises the draft based on that exact critique. And finally, it outputs a much improved answer. The model is essentially catching its own missteps in real time. But you know what? It gets even better. These individually revised drafts, they don't just stop at one single improved answer. When you run this process thousands or even millions of times, it becomes a literal training factory. In the industry, this is called synthetic data generation. The AI autonomously generates, critiques, and refines massive amounts of data, creating this highly polished dataset that actually gradually improves future generations of AI models. This creates a massive feedback loop, which leads us to a big industry term you're definitely going to hear a lot, RLIF, or Reinforcement Learning from AI Feedback. Really, it's just the natural extension of constitutional AI. Instead of fine-tuning the model using human-generated feedback, we use the feedback and rewards generated by an AI critic. Basically, our maturing student is now officially grading its peers, which vastly accelerates the whole learning process. Okay, but let's take a step back for a quick reality check here. Can AI-generated feedback actually be trusted? I mean, it sounds almost too perfect, right? Is our AI student actually an effective grader, or is it just confidently making things worse? To answer this, we really need to look at some fascinating research from Snorkel AI. They put this exact self-critique loop to the test on some pretty complex visual reasoning tasks. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive paradox they uncovered. They split their tests into easy tasks and hard tasks. On the easy tasks, where the AI initially scored over 98%, 5 rounds of self-critique actually tanked the accuracy down to about 57%. It dropped by over 41%. But then, look at the hard tasks. The initial accuracy was literally 0, but after self-critique, it shot up to 60%. So self-critique is a miracle worker on hard tasks, but it absolutely destroys accuracy on easy ones. Researchers call this first phenomenon the corrosive critique. Basically, on easy tasks, the AI hallucinates flaws and penalizes perfection. Think of this as the red zone. Imagine the AI gets a simple task perfectly right on the first try.
But because it is explicitly told it has to critique itself, it totally overthinks it. It invents some non-existent 2-pixel discrepancy just to justify its job as a critic. In this case, its own confidence actually becomes a major liability. Conversely, on the hard tasks, we see something called the Lazarus effect. This is the green zone. Because the AI is genuinely struggling with a complex logic puzzle or a really tough calculation, the critic finally has real, tangible mistakes to catch. It successfully debugs its own logical errors and literally brings failed answers back to life. It proves that yes, the AI can fix itself, but really only when it actually needs fixing.
Which leads directly to this golden rule from Snorkel AI. Critique is for debugging, not polishing. This is such a crucial takeaway for anyone working with these systems right now. Self-critique isn't some magical free lunch. It's a high-stakes bet. If your AI agent is highly confident and the task is standard, just shut the critic off. You only want to engage this loop when the model is really struggling and truly needs a second pair of virtual eyes.
So, the crucial point here is that we need to bust some common myths right now. Let's step into the principal's office for a little dose of reality. AI does not train itself entirely without humans. It does not invent its own constitution out of thin air. It absolutely does not eliminate human oversight. And, as we just saw with those easy tasks, it cannot self-improve infinitely without eventually degrading. The human element is still the absolute bedrock of this entire system.
Because if we ignore that human bedrock, we run straight into something researchers call model collapse, or the curse of recursion. This is the progressive degradation of a model's performance as its training data becomes increasingly polluted with its own synthetic outputs. Think of it like taking a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. Over time, without fresh human reality injected into it, the image just becomes a distorted, biased, nonsensical mess. The AI singularity is definitely not near if the system is only talking to itself.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our new reality. If the AI can't do it all alone, what does this new paradigm mean for us? Well, the human's enduring role hasn't disappeared. It's just shifted. We are now designing the constitutional principles, sometimes using methods like inverse constitutional AI to figure out what values actually represent us best. We're validating the training data, we're reviewing those highly complex ethical edge cases, and we're applying structural friction to ensure safety. We've basically gone from being the mechanic bolting on rigid rules to the mentor designing the entire moral framework. Ultimately, as the source material makes incredibly clear, the future isn't about choosing one method over the other. It's about a fusion. The most powerful, capable, and safe systems moving forward are going to combine the cheap, scalable factory of AI feedback with the nuanced, traceable wisdom of human oversight. The AI provides the incredible scale, for sure, but we humans, we still provide the necessary compass. We've seen some absolutely incredible leaps in just a short amount of time. Today, AI can improve individual responses, catching its own logical missteps and generating much better drafts. But as we stand on the edge of this breakthrough, it leaves us with a pretty profound mystery to think about. Today, AI can improve individual responses. Could tomorrow's AI help improve future generations of AI?